Good morning and a very warm welcome to Second Nevers Magny-Cours, where the penultimate meeting of the Ultimate Cup Series is about to get started with qualifying for the Ultimate GT Sprint Cup. It's our first qualifying session of the day, and it will be two 15-minute sessions to set the grid for our 4 25-minute races to come over the course of the next 2 days. The first will come later on today, and then 3 races to come on Saturday. A weekend where we thought we might be crowning Francesco Azzori overall champion, but the Italian not racing this weekend in his SR&R Ferrari 488 GT3 car. And so that will have to wait until the finale in Paul Ricard in a few weeks' time. Of course, that does give Lyle Schofield, the Irishman who's second in the championship, also in an SR&R prepared car, but a Ferrari 488 Challenge. That does give him an opportunity to try and close down that 29.5 point gap to Azzori, who has won every single race that he has started so far this year in Ultimate Cup competition. So it is a tall order for Schofield, who's also looking to close up the UCS 3 championship. He is currently 17 points ahead of Frederic Lacour, but the Racing Spirit of Le Mans driver also not here this weekend, so of course that gives him an opportunity to extend his gap. So his nearest competitor who is here will be the man he's sharing his car with this weekend. It's Lorenzo Montiero. So if you're unfamiliar with GT Sprint Cup competition, the drivers do have the option to split the driving of the 4 races between them, so they do 2 races each. What that can mean, of course, is that you have 2 drivers in the same car going for the championship at the same time, but not necessarily acting as teammates, as we have cars heading towards the end of pit lane and waiting for the green light to get this first qualifying session underway. There's a 2B Autosport team there. Cesar van der Westen aboard that car, running solo this weekend. His brother Carl is off rallying this weekend, so he will not be joining Cesar as he usually does in the GT Sprint Cup and in the GT Endurance Cup as well. And so that car won't be on the endurance field on Sunday. So just the GT Sprint for Cesar van der Westen. Of course, they had their father aboard the car for the endurance race as well in Mugello in early September. We have the green flag being shown, and as you can see, beautiful conditions out here in Paul Ricard for this weekend. This is Patrick Michelier in the number 73 CMR prepared Ferrari 488 Challenge car. Still looking for his first win in UCS 3, I believe, for this season. Oh no, excuse me, had that in Mugello, and it's the 3rd outing of the season for the Frenchman. We saw him out at Hockenheim and Mugello, of course, where he was victorious. And so the cars making their way out onto the track. And it is a familiar one for many of the French drivers out there. This great track that was built in 1960, of course home to the French Grand Prix from 1991 to 2008, a previous home to the Winfield Racing School, and design tweaked in 2003, but even then was a very far cry from the original 1.9 kilometre layout that was opened over 60 years ago. Now it was a sub 60-second lap back then, but it was expanded in 1988 to accommodate a wider variety of cars. So speed car here represented with a couple of cars. We have the return of Francois Denis in that 555 Ginetta GT4. That's the G55 model, and Francois Denis back after missing a couple of rounds. We've seen him out in Hockenheim and Portimao. We also have the return here of Marine Pidou in the midget as well. It's a UCS light car, the number 7 car, also prepared by Speed Car. And she won't be alone in that class. We have a Ligier JS2R out in that field as well from the drive-in team. Great to see Marine Pidou out there, midget racer, of course, and hugely popular on TikTok. Over 60,000 followers the young Frenchwoman has. There is the driving team watching on. That's the Ligier JS2R that we were just talking about. So Patrick Michelier here in that rather smart CMR prepared car, just making his way out of the Adelaide hairpin. A number of the corners here are named after the famous circuits where the design inspiration has come from. So we have the likes of the Nürburgring chicane, the Imola chicane as well, and the Estoril curve. One of a few places where track limits are being monitored for this weekend. So here is Cesar van der Westen. He was fastest in the first sector on this lap. It looks like just making his way through Virage de l'Ice and through the chicane. And up towards the timing line, so Cesar puts in the first flying lap of the day, blasting past the Ligier on the run into the Grand Curb. And so it's a 1:45.368 as the benchmark, and it's Gabriel Pimont in another of the Porsche Cup cars that has gone second fastest and was purple in sectors 2 and 3. Gabriel Pimont in the number 89 GP Racing team, sharing that car with Loic Thiers this weekend, preparing for the GT Endurance race on Sunday. They will both be aboard that car along with Anthony Beltois. So we're seeing it out of the Adelaide hairpin. Was it made famous by David Coulthard making his feelings towards Michael Schumacher known over 20 years ago now, and the Nürburgring chicane, and then into the 180-degree corner at turn 9. That's a quick blast up towards the Imola chicane, another very fast section of the racetrack. Seb Lejeune Racing are back with us this weekend as well, the 888 car. And who is driving that car at the moment? It's Seb Lejeune himself. Sharing the car with Stéphane Perrin. And again, another entry that will be joining us on Sunday for the endurance race. But, Seb Lejeune, the Porsche Carrera Cup Benelux class champion of years gone by. Back with us this weekend, I think for the first time since Portimao. So just over halfway through this session now, and it's still Van der Westen who leads. He's reduced his lap time to a 1:43.187 and is only 0.08 of a second quicker than Seb Lejeune in the 888 car, which is just 2 cars behind him. All the Porsche Cup cars, 1, 2 and 3, line astern on the track as well there, and only 0.2 separating them at the moment. Absolutely fantastic stuff. The number 12 CMR Ginetta is back out on track, previously in the hands of Eric Mouet, now in the hands of Gregory Drio, who is back since he joined us in Portimao. Of course, the former Dams team principal, and he is sharing that car this weekend with Lawrence Tomlinson, the CEO of Ginetta. That is the GTX version of the G56, so a sort of step beyond the GT4 car. But does fit into the UCS 3 category for this event. And in fact, Drio's just gone quickest by 0.2 of a second. And look at it, it's spitting dust out of the side exhausts on the braking zone for the Adelaide hairpin. So great to see that GTX car back out in force. Of course, Ginetta, very close relationship with the Ultimate Cup series, where the GT4 Evo made its debut here last year in the 4-hour GT Endurance race. That was its global debut, and they've been using these races to improve reliability and speed, of course, and then heading off into the 24-hour series. And this car was the GTX winner at the Dubai 24 Hours this year. And again, big puff of smoke or dust or whatever it is coming out of that exhaust. Doesn't quite look like flame, but very dramatic nonetheless. And again, those three Porsche Cup cars line astern. Seb Lejeune has gone fastest. So the third car in this train, the black and green striped Seb Lejeune Racing car is fastest at the moment by 0.9 of a second now to Cesar van der Westen. Although that being said, Gregory Drio now takes second place back again. So it's real tit for tat out there. But amongst the Porsche Cup class itself, it's looking very good out there. And the Porsche Cup cars are rather dominating the Ferrari Challenge machinery. And Mugello, it was a little bit the other way around. The Ferrari Challenge cars in UCS3 had more of an overall pace advantage, but currently the fastest Ferrari Challenge car out there is Lyle Schofield, some 3 seconds off the overall pace in 5th position. So how's it going on this lap? Seb Lejeune setting a personal best in the first sector, although Cesar van der Westen and Gabriel Piemont not quite able to do the same. And I wonder now, is Lejeune going to end up being held up here a little bit as they hop, skip and jump over the curbs at the final chicane? And Lejeune does go quicker still, 1:41.907, now 0.3 clear of Gregory Drio, and Gabriel Piemont yielding track position into the Grand Curve. And now Lejeune looks like he's trying to return the favour, actually, because he seems to be going quite slow through the Estoril curve. And you can see they are coming up on a little bit of traffic now. The Ginetta in front of them, that looks like the speed car Ginetta of Francois Denis, the GT4 car rather than the GTX Ginetta that we have out in the field. And yeah, slowing right down at the Adelaide hairpin, where the two Porsche Cup cars. And now we have a 2 lap times being deleted for Gabriel Piemont, and that is for track limits at the final chicane. Meanwhile, Hugo Chevalier has gone fastest in the number 60 Ford GT. Racetivity prepared Dibard Automobiles car. And this is Lyle Schofield, the fastest of the Ferrari Challenge runners at the moment. Here is the Ford, and this is a really, really exciting car to have in the field with us. And there's a little bit of a story behind it as well. This was originally meant to be a Mercedes C63 DTM entered car. The ex-Lucas Auer machine that Hugo Chevalier and Eric Dibard were going to be sharing. Eric Dibard, coincidentally, celebrating his 60th birthday today, so joyeux anniversaire to him, hence car number 60. Yes, so originally supposed to be a DTM car they were entering, but it was too loud for the circuit. The decibel meter limit here is 105 decibels, and the DTM car was rocking a 113 during yesterday's running, and so they had to dig the Porsche out of the back of the truck, which they did have with them for this weekend, just in case, and hence we have this Matec car, sorry, that used to be driven by Thomas Much, the GT1 racer, and this car, the NASCAR Ford-powered 2007 car that used to race in the GT3 European Championship and was very much a development ground for the GT1 version of this car, which was similar chassis, in fact. And so, yeah, the ex-Matec Thomas Much car that's still got all the stickers on from that season, all the Matec stickers that were raced on at that time. It's almost in exactly the same condition as when it was a contemporary racer, and absolutely marvellous to see that car out there. And it is quickest at the moment in the hands of Hugo Chevalier, who is also coaching Eric de Bard's daughter, who is racing in the Porsche Cup car this weekend, Carla de Bard, in the number 81 cars, and that's Eric's usual car. And Eric and Carla did share a Racetivity prepared BMW in the French GT4 Championship last year, but now Carla racing alongside long-term coach Simon Gachet, who is not here this weekend. He's on GT World Challenge sprint duties in Barcelona, and so Hugo Chevalier in the Ford has taken over the coaching duties of Carla for the weekend. There she is. Wonderful to see her out there. As far as I can tell, her first outing in Porsche machinery, and first time racing beyond the GT4 level. Started her career in 2021 in the BMW M2 CS French Tourism Championship, and then last year stepping up to the French GT4 category, where she's been a podium finisher in the BMW. Currently 8th fastest overall is Carla, the silver graded driver, so she will have to take some penalties during the race, as will Hugo Chevalier and Cesar van der Westin. Of course, remember, this is setting the grids for races 1 and 3. It is the fastest time for race 1, the second fastest time for race 3. And so if you're Gabriel Piemont, for example, and you've had 2 lap times deleted, well, that doesn't bode too well for your second race of the weekend. We have less than a minute left on the clock now. Hugo Chevalier very much clear of Seb Lejeune, who still has the Porsche Cup pole position, and then Gregory Drio still on UCS 3 pole position. Hugo Lacasse in the Ligier, prepared by Drive-In, is on the UCS Light pole position. Then in UCS 4, it is Francois Denis leading Pierre Aru and Adrien Stern. And Olivier Huet is at the back of the 14 car field. There's Marine Pidou. Now, it's quite a bit of negative rake on the BMW. I can't say I'd ever really noticed that before, but it's very much lifting up at the front. Of course, midget being a very, very popular platform of racing in France. For both young aspiring drivers and gentleman drivers alike. So checkered flag is out, and Hugo Chevalier has just banged in another very rapid lap time, 1:38.180. And so 3.7 seconds clear of the chasing pack. Sadly, the only UCS 1 car we have left in the field, because the Craft Racing prepared Chevron GR8, another rare beauty, has not been able to make the start. Unfortunately, had to withdraw yesterday after technical difficulties, and so it would have been very lovely to see the Chevron out there. Only one of 2 left in the world, and well, hopefully there'll still be 2 left when they get that back to the garage and can make sure all is well there. So shame to see, of course, but still wonderful to have the Ford out there, and another fantastic mix of different machines. And so it is Hugo Chevalier who is fastest, and Seb Lejeune second, Gregory Drio third, all pole positions in their class. And then we do, I think we caught a glimpse of Francois Denis in the UCS 4 pole sitting car. Just look at that Ford, such a low slung car. Of course, this was referred to as a Ford GT rather than a GT40, because the GT40 is the original car from the 60s, so named because it was 40 inches tall, but the modern counterpart is not quite so. It's still a very compact racing car compared to some of their vast machines that we see out in modern day racing, as Chevalier brings that car back into pit lane. A 24-year-old who's been very busy in the world of GT racing. He was in the CLRT Porsche in GT World Challenge Endurance last year, and so far this year has actually been part of the 2B Autosport GT Endurance lineup. He was so in Mugello, and I think was due to be originally, but it seems like Romain Fab is going to be resuming his usual spot aboard that Porsche Cup car. And so Hugo can concentrate on his GT Sprint category for this weekend. And looked like Gabriel Pimont there didn't quite make it to the end of pit lane in time. He's there waiting patiently. And there you go. Still got the original driver stickers on there as well. So you can see Thomas Much is there on the right-hand side, the previous driver of this car that did make an appearance at this round of the Ultimate Cup Series last year as well. So sort of getting its annual outing out there. I will have to check actually if that car's used to running on Goodyear tyres. I can't, off the top of my head, remember what the GT3 European Championship used to run in terms of its rubber. Gregory Drio there. Just climbing out of the car and getting ready to hand over to Lawrence Tomlinson. Car 303 is under investigation for crossing the meeting the checkered flag twice in that last session. So 303 being Olivier Huet, and that is a bit of a no-no. So it could be a slap on the wrist there for Huet. Now, so if you're sharing the car, the second drivers will now be getting aboard, but of course we have plenty of solo drivers out there that will potentially contest all 4 races. We do sometimes see drivers just contesting the 2, but hopefully we will still get all 14 cars for both races. So speed car there with their 2 cars. Marine Pidou car and the Francois Denis GT4 car. And we have green light for qualifying 2 now. That's what the number 89 car was waiting at the end of pit lane for. It was Loic Thiers, not Gabriel Pimont, getting the jump on everyone else for the start of Q2. He's found himself track position. So now aboard that 353 car is Lourenço Monteiro, the Portuguese driver who took his first UCS3 victory, or his first overall win in Mugello last time out. 3 class wins to his name for this year. Currently 3rd in UCS3, the former Caterham racer in Portugal. Now, of course, has an opportunity to promote himself to 2nd in the UCS3 standings, with Frédéric Lacour not here as part of the Racing Spirit of Le Mans team. And that's the Adrian Stern CMR prepared Ginetta. So again, another GT4 car, but the G56 Evo rather than the G55 that Francois Denis is driving, and so the CMR one being the V8 version of the GT4 car. As now we see Loic Thiers out in the GP racing car. Remember, they are getting some additional laps under their belts in preparation for the GT Endurance race. Showing the car with Anthony Baltoy, the multiple Carrera Cup France and French GT champion. And already at the end of the outlap and pushing towards first flying lap of the session. So into the Grand Curve for the first time at speed. And then into the right-hander of Estoril, turn 3, and they are watching the track limits here on the outside. He's been very well behaved in the middle of the corner. What's he going to be like on the exit? Whoa, that was very, very on the edge there, but I do think he kept some Goodyear rubber just on the white line, and then the blast up towards the biggest stop on the racetrack, the Adelaide hairpin. The front of the nose hunkers down under the weight of Loctier's left foot. ABS on these cars, remember, so that helps a little bit. Runs out over the curbing, takes a little shortcut there, and now towards the Nürburgring chicane, a very fast right-left of turns 7 and 8, and then straight away into the 180-degree corner of turn 9. A very, very late apex, but runs a little bit wide there, did Loctier on that particular occasion. Through the kink of 10. This little left kink as well is classed as turn number 11. But then it's the Imola chicane at turns 12 and 13. And you see the size of the curbing there. Takes no liberties with the first one, but tries a little bit with the next. Virage de Château. The almost a hairpin corner at turn 14. That's another high-speed blast. There is a few kinks to navigate before you get to Virage de Lice. And then straight away into the chicane, and he's got the Carla Debard car. They make contact in the middle of the chicane there. Carla Debard maybe not expecting Loctier to come up the inside there in the middle of the chicane, but she was going very slowly at the end of the lap. And so I hope all was well aboard that Debard Automobiles Racetivity prepared Porsche. So Loctier has continued on his way, seemingly with no damage on that car. Is he just making a little adjustment to his helmet there, I think, or to the visor? Sun is poking through the clouds and continuing on his way. And now should be able to find some time in the third sector, and there's probably no damage on that car because he's just gone fastest in the first sector and was still a quarter of a second quicker than Lorenzo Monteiro on that previous car. And speaking of the Portuguese driver, there he is, just leading Patrick Michelier around the lap. So this is the SR&R prepared car that we just saw Lyle Schofield in for Q1. He was not fastest in his class, but definitely fastest of the Ferrari Challenge machinery. Monteiro has been finding an awful lot of speed since his switch over to GT racing at the start of this year. Monteiro going fastest in the middle sector, actually. He's really wrestling that car. You see, taking an awful lot of the curb through the Imola chicane. Chateau d'Eau, turn 14. And this is where the Ferrari will utilize its 670 brake horsepower engine. And into Virage de Lice. Again, a lot of curb there. Let's see how much he uses through the chicane. Well, it was relatively cautious compared to earlier in the lap, but I think that might have been a track limits infringement, though, on the exit of the corner. And it is the exit of 17 where they are looking at track limits, and it's the white line that they are deeming to be the track limits. Speaking of track limits, reported at the final corner, car 60. That's just had 2 laps deleted, so that's the Eric Debard Ford GT. That was fastest in Q1 at the hands of Hugo Chevalier. And yeah, you can see why Loctier would have been making a adjustment to his visor down that stretch of road, because the sun really starting to glint through now. Here is Eric Debard, and as we mentioned, joyeux anniversaire to him, number 60 years old today. What a birthday treat to get to turn the wheel of this Ford GT3 car around Magny-Cours. But did just have 2 lap times deleted for track limits at the final corner, so Debard's got to keep it neat and tidy. Debard being the gentleman driver of the pairing. It's not strictly Pro-Am pairings in this series, but we do often see silver class drivers coaching their gentleman counterparts in these races. Beauty of the format is getting to share the car. across the 4 races. So unleashing the NASCAR V8 down the back stretch towards the Adelaide hairpin. Lawrence Tomlinson, meanwhile, here he is. He's gone fastest on a 1:41.578, so nearly 7/10 clear of Loic Thiers. And so this is the car that Gregory Drio was driving just a moment ago in Q1. And just struggling to get it stopped there into Virage de l'Ice, or into Chateau d'Eau, I should say. So this car was fastest in UCS 3 in Q1, and now the Ginetta CEO is tackling the circuit. We haven't seen Lawrence Tomlinson out since the first round of the European Endurance Prototype Cup, if memory serves me correctly. We haven't seen him out in the GTs, but we have seen him out in his Ginetta G61 LMP3 car, alongside his son Freddie, and they will be sharing a car in GT Endurance on Sunday. And so opening up the taps then on that GTX class Ginetta. Look how much it hunkers down, squirming under braking for the Adelaide hairpin. Lawrence Tomlinson recently celebrated his 60th birthday as well, just a couple of months ago. Of course, class winner at the Le Mans 24 Hours back in 2006 with Panos, before entering his own car in LMP1 as well. Of course, lots of news coming out of the Ginetta stable in recent months with the development of their juniors and academy series, and hoping to get more of a presence in LMP3 with the 3rd generation car set to be introduced for next year. And they've very much been using the Ultimate Cup Prototype Series to help with that development. And so once again, fastest in the middle sector for Lawrence Tomlinson there. Through the final chicane now. Keep it on the straight and narrow, and don't do track limits on the exit of the corner. And it is fastest, 1:43.11, fastest in the final sector as well. Now 1.9 seconds clear of Loic Thiers. You see how much that car leans through the high-speed corners. It's great to watch. The CMR team very much setting themselves up as the French distributor of Ginetta machinery in France. They're running their LMP3 cars in the European Endurance Prototype Cup this year, and running a modicum of Ginetta machinery in the Ultimate GT Sprint Cup as well. The SR Renault team watching on, hoping that their team can move forward. So Lorenzo Monteiro really unable to do anything about this GTX car, and so just worrying about his own class position. But Monteiro in the pits at the moment, he's 5th fastest, and again best of the Ferrari challenge cars. It's Tomlinson fastest as it stands, and then a flurry of Porsche Cup machinery. Loic Thiers for the GP Racing team, then Stéphane Perrin in the Seb Lejoux racing car, and then Cesar van der Westen for To Be Autosport. Then Lorenzo Monteiro, then Carla de Bard. Eric de Bard just behind her. And that car, as well as Marine Pidou, under investigation for speeding in the pit lane. So that'll be a bit of a slam dunk normally. Patrick Michelier in 8th, and then Francois Denise on pole position in UCS 4 in the 555 speed car Ginetta, with Pierre Aru at 2nd. And then between them and the remaining other classes are the 2 UCS light cars of Hugo Lacasse in 72. That's the drive-in Ligier GS2R, and then Marine Pidou in the midjet. So 3 minutes left in this qualifying session. And Tomlinson going for another lap here. Heading through the Nürburgring chicane and into the 180-degree corner. So the 303 car, that's Olivier Huet, leading Carla Debard. It's currently 7th fastest. A 1:44.180 is her best time so far. Not bad for her first appearance in Porsche Cup machinery. Just rounding up the GT4 Ginetta on the way into Virage de l'Ice. And now can open up the taps. Should be enough time for 2 more laps in this session. What a treat it must be for Carla Debard to be sharing the field with her dad, who has just gone 2nd fastest. Eric Debard, 0.8 of a second away from Lawrence Tomlinson in the Ford GT. But Carla here under the guidance of Hugo Chevalier for the weekend. Simon Gachet, her usual driver coach in the French GT4 Championship. She's not opted to have the visor over her face like Loic Thiers was earlier on. And I know that's not the normal thing that we would look out for, but so rare to actually have such a clear view inside the cockpit of these cars. So I will enjoy that while we can, while the lighting allows for it. And oh, that was just a little bit of a slide in the middle of the 180-degree corner there, just as we cut away from it, but she's continued on her way. Of course, one thing she won't quite be used to in her first race weekend with the Porsche is the rear-engined nature of such a car. That does mean it's a bit of a pendulum. And once it starts swinging, it swings big. And that's the car that normally her father would be driving. And so heading into the final couple of corners now. Virage de l'Ice and through the chicane. 25 seconds left on the clock, and she comes up towards the timing line. It was a personal best in the first sector, but didn't quite manage to improve on that lap. It was 0.4 of a second away from her best. So she remains 7th fastest and splitting the 2 Ferrari Challenge UCS3 cars of Lorenzo Montiero and Patrick Michelier. Checkered flag is now out then. And Eric Debard is on a personal best here in the first and second sector. And I wonder, is he still out on track? Yes, he's just coming through the final corner now. Is this going to be enough to usurp Lawrence Tomlinson? Oh, not quite. Lost quite a bit of time in the final sector there, and so missed out by a 10th on his own personal best. So Eric Debard remains 2nd fastest there. Oh, well, no, sorry. It came up quite late in the end on our timing screen, so 1:41.226 for the Frenchman. But still quite a way off Lawrence Tomlinson, who does secure pole position for race number 2. I remember the 2nd fastest times will set the grid for race number 4. Now I wonder, did Tomlinson get over the line in time? Shouldn't be on a fast lap, but he's just gone fastest in the middle sector. So I can't imagine he'd be pushing that hard on his in-lap, but he should have taken the checkered flag. So, well, I'll keep an eye out on that. He's only got 3 corners to go anyway, so let's see what he does. Well, if he's already taken the checkered flag, he's going to take it again. Remember, there was a couple of cars picked up for that in Q1. But he's going to get across the line anyway, and didn't improve in the end. Was half a second away, but still, nice last gasp effort there from Lawrence Tomlinson. Loic Thiers it is who takes Porsche Cup pole position in 3rd overall, with Cesar van der Westen just pipping Stefan Perrin in the end. Lorenzo Montiero, 2nd fastest of the UCS3 runners, then Carla Debard and Patrick Michelier. UCS4 pole position going to Francois Denis, who was a few tenths ahead of Pierre Arroux for Herrera Racing. Hugo Lacasse on UCS Light pole position in the Ligier. Olivier Huet in the speed car Ginetta. Then Marine Pidou in the midget, and Adrian Stern in the CMR Ginetta Evo at the back of the field. So that's how they'll line up for race number 2 tomorrow morning. And dramas here for the GP Racing team by the looks of it, because that looks like the pit lane entry and a bit of gravel that has made its way onto the circuit. But for now, that is all from qualifying, and so we'll see you out for the races later on today.
Être un bon traiteur, c'est être intransigeant sur la qualité. On ne fait du bon qu'avec le meilleur. C'est être impitoyable sur les recettes. Quand c'est bon, il n'y a rien à ajouter, rien à enlever. C'est être irréprochable sur le goût. Il faut prendre du plaisir pour en donner. Voilà, pour être un bon traiteur, il faut être intraitable.
Parfaitement intraitable.